Hello. So, what a wild week we're having. Um, Lots of tumult, tumult, tumult happening in the world. Um, again, uh, as I do my devotions, kind of having a desire to find some solace in my Bible reading. And I am on my list rereading a little bit up here because I had done all of this and then realized I missed this. Let's see here. I did all of this and then I realized I had missed part of the prophets. So I did these and now I'm coming back to some of this. And some of Isaiah I had read in a different Bible, so I wanted to get some notes into my fancy study note-taking illuminated Bible. And so I was revisiting Isaiah 1 through 8 yesterday. And such a comfort. I think I'm just emotional because my kids went to their dad's for the summer, so I'll just get a little out of whack those first couple of days, and then everything that is just going on with just three kind of high-profile murders of black people by either police or whites or both. Just stirring up a lot. My social media Wednesday was just like overwhelming with lots of support for the family of the man who was murdered by the police. And it was just a lot to be bombarded with. So, as I would recommend to anyone, just taking a step back, putting your phone down or logging out of the computer. And I am, I feel like I'm a very socially active and aware person, but it's really important for me to balance that with, like, also focusing on scripture. But a lot of times those coincide. For me personally, I can't really compartmentalize them. It's not like I just turn off the politics over here and now I'm going to have my Bible reading and it has nothing to do with anything in the real world. Because that's, for me, I see it all as interconnected. I feel like if I'm practicing my faith and I'm reading the Bible, there's no way that I don't see it over here in my like worldly life. So it was very comforting though in Isaiah. I love the passage of Isaiah 6 where he is talking about it's a really famous passage. In the year that King Uzziah died, I saw the Lord sitting upon a throne, high and lifted up, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Oh, look, I'm getting so emotional just right now. It was such a great reminder of turning my eyes off of what's going on and looking at this all-powerful, always more powerful, always above what's going on in our lives. Of course, Isaiah goes on to say, verse 5, he describes the seraphim that have the wings calling out, holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. And then he writes, woe is me, for I am lost, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, the Lord of hosts. And there's a passage a little further in the chapter that I wrote in my notes. It's a tumultuous time as three infamous deaths of black citizens are roiling the nation. And I just saw, I mean, the prophets are so full of all of this like destruction that's happening to the people of Israel. And I know that like it was a different time, so these wars and conflicts and the children of God, like the Israelites being like conquered by other nations and dispersed or held as captives, I don't know that that is exactly paralleled today. But for me, as I was reading through some of this, uh, verses 9 and 10, keep on hearing but do not understand, keep on seeing but do not perceive, make the heart of this people dull and their ears heavy, and blind their eyes, lest they see with their eyes and hear with their hearts and understand with their hearts and turn and be healed. Uh, then I said, how long, O Lord? And he said, until cities lie waste without inhabitant, and houses without people, and the land is a desolate waste. And it goes on and talks more in chapter 7, kind of about this like more destruction. But in chapter 7, we get the beautiful promise in verse 14. Therefore, the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and call his name Emmanuel, which we know means God with us. You can kind of see in the history of the Israelites, there's this, they turn away and they come back, and they turn away and they come back, and they're captured and destroyed, or they fight people off, whatever. There's this like whole thing, and it's kind of leading up to, the whole point is getting to the birth of Jesus, God coming to the earth, God with us, Emmanuel, actually. So it starts in verse 11. For the Lord spoke thus to me with his strong hand upon me, and warned me not to walk in the way of this people, saying, do not call conspiracy all that this people calls conspiracy, and do not fear what they fear, nor be in dread. I was like, okay, God, I hear you. But the Lord of hosts, him you shall honor as holy. Let him be your fear, and let him be your dread. And he will become a sanctuary, and a stone of offense, and a rock of stumbling to both houses of Israel, a trap and a snare to the inhabitants of Jerusalem. And many shall stumble on it, and they shall fall and be broken. They shall be snared and taken. So I'm not going to pretend to understand all of it, but I feel like there are these pieces that really redirect us away from too much dependency on the powers of the earth, those around us. And today, I mean, I don't feel like we have an earthly kingdom of God, but the church, Christian believers, are these people of God. And it's really easy for us, I think, to get caught up in the conspiracies and the fears of those around us, and we don't look at the Lord of hosts and honor him and fear him. They're asked to inquire of the mediums and the necromancers who chirp and mutter. Should not a people inquire of their God, though? Should they inquire of the dead on behalf of the living? To the teaching and to the testimony. If they will not speak accordingly to this word, it is because they have no dawn. They will pass through the land greatly distressed and hungry. And when they are hungry, they will be enraged and will speak contemptuously against their king and their God, and turn their faces upward. And they will look to the earth, but behold distress and darkness, the gloom of anguish, and they will be thrust into thick darkness. Oh my God, it's making me cry again. I just feel this resonance of, we have a joking term of it now, hangry, right? When you get super angry, when you get super hungry, and you're angry and you can't control your emotions. And I feel like what is happening in the physical there can also happen in the spiritual when we're so hungry and distressed, and when we look around us, everything is a mess. It's easy to get overly emotional and, God, why are you doing this? What's happening? All that sort of thing. So I was kind of in this. And then, of course, in chapter 9, that beautiful hope comes back to us. For unto us a child is born, unto us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Of the increase of his government and of peace there will be no end. And it just really brought to my mind the words of Jesus in Matthew 24, when he is speaking of the end times, what people can expect. He's asked about that, and for many will come in my name, saying, I am the Christ, and they will lead many astray. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not alarmed, for this must take place, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are but the beginning of the birth pains. Then they will deliver you up to tribulation and put you to death, and you will be hated by all nations for my name's sake. Christ is talking to his followers. And then many will fall away and betray one another and hate one another. And many false prophets will arise and lead many astray. And because lawlessness will be increased, the love of many will grow cold. But the one who endures to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. And then the end will come. And, I'm so emotional about it all. I just felt such a, hopefulness, which is weird to say because it feels so hopeless. I feel like doing the right thing in our world is so far from all of us actually practicing. And Jesus was saying, all of this stuff is going to happen, and because it's so troublesome, some people are going to give up, and I feel like that's so true. When it just doesn't get better, you really feel like, what are my prayers even doing? But he says, those who endure to the end will be saved, and I love how it says that the gospel will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations. I really feel this devastation and confusion brings is a time for people to turn their eyes away from the troubles and look for their help and their hope in the King whose train fills the temple. So powerful that the sign of his power fills the whole room. And that until we've been able to spread that, gospel, that good news of hope to the world, it is not the end yet. I don't know, I was just really encouraged, actually, even though I'm crying like a crazy person right now. I don't have any tissues in my kitchen. So just an encouragement to, and then, of course, I was reading and listening to that Lauren Daigle album. The song Remember came on. Remember that he's so good. Not everyone feels like that, and I know a lot of people are disappointed, and they think that if religion really worked, or if faith really worked, or if God was really real, that this kind of stuff would stop happening. We should have an understanding that the kingdom of heaven was not, Christ didn't come to establish it as an earthly kingdom to control all inhabitants of the earth to act a certain way, but it's the establishment of a kingdom within our hearts, that we may not see changes in our government, and things legally may get more difficult for Christians, but that doesn't mean that we're going backwards or that we're not fighting hard enough. According to Matthew, it's just a sign of the time.